This is Justice Society of Superheroes 15, written by John Jeffries, and this was the last issue I got of this run, and with good reason. Not only was the book canon into a very long story based entirely on revisiting Martin Quaid and Alec Rose's Tragic Kingdom, but the book was failing to deliver much in between all that love letter crap. I will say, nice to have Sandman on the cover. He's barely in the issue, and him being covered in Sunny D like that. Well, look forward to the 3 panels of the comic that this cover refers to. I get the feeling that these covers were an editor pointing at a random panel and Gannon, make that into the cover please. We've already had me moan about all the veneration towards Tragic Kingdom, but here we have a new nuisance, and another reason I lost all patience with this book. They gone to the lengths of drafting in Alec Rose to do random bits of art for the issues. It is needless, it is indulgent, and it is just distracting. This is wanting you to feel nostalgic for that overpraised story. Alec Rose, his art is not justified at all. It's like it is there as a weird brown-nosing thing, like John Jeffries is making it clear that Alec Rose approves of what he is doing. And a splash page and then a single panel is all Alec Rose contributes to this issue. But here we have the bit that I remembered fondly, and it didn't live up to my recollection. Green Lanterns, he is fighting Gubbins, the baddie from Tragic Kingdom, and he doesn't really make much headway at all. But the one that felt almost as good as I remembered it was Obsidian Man, who gets this whole bit where he uses his shadow powers to get inside of Gubbins. This is after 14 issues of Obsidian Man being there but not doing anything. All he has done in the series so far is have a single scene in issue 10, which was also quite good. And now suddenly, when he steps up and fights the bad guy, and he is given a focus, and he is shown to be awesome, it's like the book is amazing because it is bothering to use these characters for something. I still remembered the scene as being a lot more better than it is, but it still ranks as the best thing in the issue. The rest of the comic is a mess, but I would say it is an endearing mess. It's like John Jeffries, he became aware that he had far too many characters and that writing a fight scene was tricky. So here he is just throwing a bunch of characters at Gubbins to try and make up for not really being able to write a team book well with these conditions. Like here we have Flask Girl, she is fighting Gubbins. It is a single panel, it is all she does in the issue, but it is already more substantial than the last issue where she was just there. It is mostly all fighting and it is badly done. With 26 or 29 or however many team members, you cannot really justify these one-on-one fights where each member gets something to do. They are, in my opinion, essential for a team book. My rule is that for a team book, every member of the team should get to contribute something to the overall plot. The exception, of course, being issues or stories that are specifically meant to spotlight or focus on a specific character. Captain Steel, he gets to stand still, he cannot be knocked out. That is it from him for this issue. Judo Woman, a character who I think is absolute shit. She gets a whole page fighting gubbins. Judo Woman gets a whole page showing her fight a villain who should overpower her pretty quickly. And now we start seeing how this ends up being a big long story, because Sandman, he reveals that Gubbins isn't even the real Gubbins. And this is the only thing you can really do with a big team like this. When they fight a baddie, double splash page where you can fit them all in. Rereading this one really hammered home how little this book was connecting with us. Sure, there was that one bit with Obsidian Man, but nearly every issue it was the case that there would be a single scene or bit that I actually enjoyed, and the rest was all a failure. Might be a bit harsh, but the comic was just not working. There was very little characterization, down to there not being enough room for offering characterization for most of the heroes. Mainstay members like Flask and Green Lanterns, they were getting a single line of speech per issue. Even newer additions to the team like Pratt's Son has really done now in this two-parter. You would be forgiven for not even realising he was there. But then we have all this time devoted to Tragic Kingdom, or new characters like Judo Woman or the new Airman, who despite having all issues setting them up, they fall prey to the exact same thing as the other members of the team, which is irrelevance. Then Sandman, he comes out of the ground, and it's like the first action that he has seen in the whole series. Then the real Gubbins shows up and kills fake Gubbins, which is a perfect representation of why I gave up. The Justice Society of Superheroes is their name on the cover, but it is all about Tragic Kingdom inside. The heroes, they did not beat the bad guy. More Tragic Kingdom bollocks did. And now Tragic Kingdom is completely taken out of the book until about issue 26. And you've got to turn it sideways to see full-sized Gubbins, which I fucking love doing. And if you can be bothered to turn one more page, you get a look into the future of the book, which only continues all of my criticisms and reminds me of even more criticisms of John Jeffries as a writer. Look, a character randomly dies. Pratt's Son, I think it was. More characters are added. More Tragic Kingdom and more indulgent Alec Rose art. And even more characters, as well as a chance to continue John Jeffries' Black Atom fetish, which was what his previous Justice Society of Superheroes book preferred to tell stories about. It must be nice for him to finally be able to do a Justice Society of Superheroes book where he can bring together two stories that he would rather tell than a Justice Society of Superheroes story. These videos, they were meant to clearly explain why I dropped the book, and I likely just come across as someone who dropped it because they don't like Tragic Kingdom. But if you take that out of the equation, it was still a consistently unsatisfying read. 15 issues in, over a year on the book, and most of the characters, they are still being set up. It could not juggle its cast. It didn't have any direction before making its direction into being a Tragic Kingdom sequel. And this issue is shit. I didn't recommend it. it is a book starring characters I really like that doesn't like them enough to do anything with them. So I give this a hard 7 thumbs up.